Hey, Brownie bakers. Want to attend your next game for 5% off? Listen up. We've got to talk to you about Ticket IQ. Ticket IQ is your smartest ticket search, offering the largest and most diverse ticket inventory for live events. All tickets are guaranteed with 100% buyer protection, providing a safe and secure ticket search for any type of live event, including the Browns, Indians, Cavs, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, concerts, the WWE, and many more events that you can purchase tickets for. Whenever you find a ticket listed as a low price guarantee, you'll know that's the lowest price for a ticket on the market. So visit Ticket IQ. You're going to use our link in the iTunes description. Really easy to find. You'll also be able to see this link on the pinned tweet at the Brownie Sunday Podcast Twitter, which is at Brownie Podcast on Twitter. So again, check out the iTunes description, use the link, or head over to the Twitter at Brownie Podcast. Once you click the link, you'll help us out, and you'll also get yourself 5% off when you use the promo code LPG5. Cheers!
Brownie Sunday, wake up in the late afternoon. Call Rod Bloom just to see how he's doing. Yo, what's up, Rod? Hey, Chad, what's happening? You thinking what I'm thinking? Cleveland Sports Talk, man, it's happening.
Hello and welcome into the Brownie Sunday Podcast. This is Chad Painter here with Vice President of Cleveland Sports Talk, Rod Bloom. We're going to recap this game, aren't we?
We are, yeah. What can you say? 59-yarder.
Yes, 59 yards. Oh, my goodness. We were just talking about it. This guy apparently can make deep three-pointers like Steph Curry, but not a layup. You would have never, ever guessed. This was the Zane Gonzalez deja vu game. You would have never guessed that he would have been able to put it through. So we figured he was going to miss it. Obviously, we shouldn't have given the ball up twice in overtime. This has got to be a record, Rod. I mean, is this a record of the Browns going into overtime this many times in a season?
4 times already? I mean, I don't know if anybody even tracks that, but it's almost got to be. This team's played so much football already. Yeah, it's rough on the fans. You know, it's rough to even talk about some of these games afterwards. It just takes so much out of you to watch these games. And just, this game, it's like, you thought it was over almost in the first quarter, first half, and then the Browns fight their way back, and you get excited, you think they've got it, and then something else happens, and it's just fight, and another overtime, and then, just another loss in the end. It's tough. The team obviously is a lot more talented, but it's just not getting any easier to be a Browns fan right now, just yet.
Yeah, we come out of the gate with the first safety since 2014. You would think that gained some momentum for the team. It absolutely doesn't. We keep giving the ball back, whether it be punting or turnovers. And, they just let the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially in the first half, especially the first quarter, run it down the field. I mean, middle field zones were wide open all the time. Jameis Winston was not on his A game and was just able to find a Chris Godwin or an O.J. Howard wide open middle of the field and just kind of move the chains on us. It seemed like a similar situation that the Chargers had. Keenan Allen came out at the end of the game last week and got interviewed about that blowout with the Chargers, and he just said, yeah, the defense didn't show anything that scared us. We were able to read the defense and just push the ball, and that's why Melvin Gordon, even Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams had huge games on us last week, and then we're able to give up all this chunk yardage, especially between the 20s. The defense came alive, definitely here and there were some huge plays, but they really kept us alive second half, and we had that second half momentum. But obviously, we want to dive into it too much and vent. Let's kind of give ourselves a process here and a flow of our show here. Let's start off with what are we drinking before we go any further. So tell us what's on the table. What are you bringing to us today to say cheers with, Rod?
Well, as most people know, if you follow, I was off work this week on vacation, just kind of a home, home working vacation. Did some stuff around the house, but kind of in search of some beer on Thursday down Cincinnati to Jungle Gems, and kind of loaded up the cart with probably enough beer to get me, through through all these Browns games, probably the rest of the season. But I got a great deal on some Guinness Irish wheat, which I had never heard of. The Irish wheat, but it was Guinness, so I thought I'd give it a shot. It is it's a zesty citrus, subtle clove, and banana notes. To me, I expected more of a Guinness punch to it. It's very much just like a very easy drinking beer. You can definitely taste the citrus. The citrus kind of takes over. The subtlety of the bananas and the clove in it, but certainly a refreshing beer. Not exactly what I expected, but I got such a good deal on it. It was $2.99 for a 6-pack, so I bought 3 6-packs. So I'm going to be drinking these for a while. But it's not too bad. How about you? What have you been enjoying?
Oh, I love Guinness. Everything that Guinness makes, I'll take. And at $2.99, my goodness,
great deal.
What a plug!
I couldn't pass it up.
I'm coming to Dayton right now. That's worth the gas money.
Jungle Gems in Cincinnati has the best beer selection, around it. They frequently have great sales. So you go in and they have beers on sale up front, like this Guinness, and then you go back and they've got just shelf after shelf of individual beers of 6-packs, of 12-packs. It's probably the best place to go, anywhere, Dayton or Cincinnati.
Yeah, I've been to Jungle Gyms in Cincinnati one time, and I'd rather go there than Disney World, to be honest. It is amazing. I could spend the whole day in there. It's such a good time. Love that place in Cincinnati. Up here in Cleveland, we've got Brew Nuts. I've talked about it once before in the show, but I'm bringing it back. We went to enjoy a really special event they put on where they paired small donuts. They made like mini donuts to just pair with a flight. So it was really cool how they put it on the menu. It was just $20 for the flight and all 4 donuts. And they kind of shared why each donut goes with each beer. And they're awesome, man. They partnered up with Hansa Brewery, which is also here in Cleveland. So they had like a light crisp Kolsch, a malty rich but not too rich coffee porter because it's brewed with all gluten-free ingredients, so it didn't come across too chocolatey or too rich. It was really tasty and obviously great with a chocolate donut. An Oktoberfest they came out with this season, so you got to try that. And like a caramely, perfect autumn beer in their German lager Schwarzbier. You can find Hansa on Lorraine Avenue here in Cleveland and Brew Nuts on Detroit Road in Gordon Square Arts District. We love going out to Brew Nuts. There's nothing better than a donut and a beer, and so it was really cool to get it, in a sampler version on the flight. So
sounds good to me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, you got to try it when you're in
good.
Cleveland. Got to try it. It's such a cool spot. They actually responded to me the last time I shared our podcast with them, so I'm going to do that again and just give them a little plug. They're local. The owners work right in front of you. You would never know they're the owners. They like bussing tables. They're waiting on people. Met one of the owners, John, there. He served us, and it was just really cool. And I said, man, this is such a creative idea. Keep doing this because we'll come back. So, yeah,
cool.
Good time. Obviously, that's going to be a highlight of our show today after this loss, after a loss by a kick, man. Crazy. Let's give out game balls, though. Keep it going on a positive note. Who would you hand a game ball to from our Brownies today?
Well, I thought there were several guys who had good games, but I'm going to go with Jarvis Landry. I really think with all the injuries we've seen and issues at receiver, I've kind of been waiting for him to step up, and I thought he really stepped up in this game. He made some clutch catches, just went up and took some balls that, could have been kind of 50-50 balls. He ends up with 10 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown, and that's almost the kind of line that I expect from a guy who came in and we were expecting him to kind of be able to take over games now and then. So I was really happy to see that. And it's definitely the kind of performance that Baker Mayfield to see from Jarvis Landry, and also hopefully he'll get some support from other guys. But definitely, I thought Juice showed up today, and was real happy to see it.
Yeah, not only double-digit receptions and 97 yards and a score, but that score came by way of a slip-and-slide touchdown. Another record for the Browns. I think that was the first slip-and-slide touchdown we've ever seen.
That was great, yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't believe they gave it to him, really, but I mean, it clearly was a touchdown.
In fast motion, in real time, I was like, there's no way that was a touchdown. And then they show it in slow motion, and it's so funny how slow it really looked on the slow motion recap. I mean, it looked fake. It must have slid 5 or 6 yards. And yeah. They had some slippery grass over there in Tampa Bay today, which really helped out Jarvis Landry. So great game ball, man. I would say that on the offensive side as well. So I'll switch to a defensive side. I've got to say Christian Kirksey, who frustrated me a bit. He was back and forth. He frustrated me a bit at first. There was a big sack on third down to get the ball back earlier in the game, and he had used they called it an illegal use of hands on Kirksey to supply the Buccaneers 10 yards closer to the goal and a first down, and you go, man, we just can't catch a break. By the way, I'm sure we'll talk about this enough, but penalties galore once again for the Browns. My goodness. And so that penalty killed. I thought, man, we're just killing the momentum. We were going to get the ball back. We need this just to get some positivity in our team. You don't want to get these guys to the point where they're getting beat up. The defense has to be out there so often. I mean, how many years have we seen the Browns send out the defense so often throughout the game and just get fatigued? And you don't want to get this team to a point where they're like, why are we here?
Right.
Team, we can't change this culture around. We've been trying. You don't want that. And so I kind of saw that happening as we would break either on offense or on defense. We'd get some stops. We'd frustrate the Buccaneers offense and Jameis Winston, and then we would just screw it up. and there was a big Kirksey letdown there with the illegal use of hands. But, man, Christian Kirksey with the interception, one of the most beautiful interceptions I think we've seen all season in the NFL, just nabbed that thing out of the air from a Jameis Winston
it was a great catch.
throw. Yeah, he had him wide open. He had O.J. Howard for a touchdown pretty much. And he just nabbed it right out in front of him. Beautiful interception. The fumble recovery after the Myles Garrett strip sack. The defense really started clicking at one point, and Kirksey was a huge part of it. And he really redeemed himself from moments like that illegal use of hands and the penalty. So got to give him the game ball on the defensive side of the ball, especially filling in at middle linebacker for Joe Schobert, our one Pro Bowler last year, and who had been the cerebral leader of the Browns.
That's true, yeah. I mean, it's not easy to just slide in there, and have those additional responsibilities. So, yeah, I thought he had a great game. Overall, it's just great to see the defense be disruptive like that. We've seen it kind of from time to time, and I thought they overall played, a very solid game today.
And I think even with the loss by 3, you could actually give out a ton of game balls. I mean, Emmanuel Ogbah was very active. Britton Colquitt is just a pinpoint accurate punter, like unbelievable. Yeah. You could give him a game ball again, like Menaka did.
Yeah, we could, definitely. Yeah.
So
I agree.
So plenty of guys really showed up today. I mean, Baker with a 35-yard run at one point was beautiful. I really did think when he got in Whitehead's face, the safety on the Bucs, I thought he was going to grab crotch. I thought, oh boy, this is the Baker. the Baker that we all knew is coming out.
Yeah, I don't want to digress too much. I definitely want to get back to that play later in our game breakdown, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just things are coming to mind. It's so fresh. But, let's move into our segments here after game ball. Thrive or dive. Hey, Brownie Bakers. I want to tell you about Thrive Fantasy. you're going to need to jump into Thrive Fantasy if you haven't yet. It's the brand new way to play daily fantasy sports of all kinds. They've had amazing postseason baseball contests in the lobby, basketball contests in the lobby, and now tonight, Monday Night Football, baby. We've got Eli Manning versus Matt Ryan. The really cool thing about Thrive, and you'll find out tonight once you jump into their featured contest for a $1,000 prize pool, is that you can pick the props to get players on your team. You love doing this week in, week out, right? Doing a daily fantasy lineup as well as picking the props on the games. Well, in Thrive, you pick the props on a certain player statistical category and you get them on your team. Say you want Saquon Barkley tonight. You think he's going to rush for more than 75.5 total yards. You're going to pick the over on that line. Saquon is going to be on your team, and you're going to watch him rack up the rushing yards and rack up points on your team so that you can earn cash tonight. You can pick the props on all sorts of players in tonight's game and build your lineup and win cash. If you use our link, bit.ly/Cleveland Sports Talk, you'll get a match guaranteed up to $10 on your first deposit. That means you're going to get an easy $20 to start playing Thrive tonight and play their featured contest. But yeah, go ahead and check out their basketball contest, baseball contest. This is the brand new way to play all your daily fantasy sports. Check it out. Cheers. Rod, why don't you kick it off? What's your Thrive and your dive for us this afternoon?
Well, I'm going to say I struggled a little bit on the game ball because like you were saying, multiple guys were deserving of a game ball. So I gave Jarvis Landry the game ball. I'm going to give the Thrive to Emmanuel Ogbah, who was very disruptive today. You know, it's exactly what we want to see from him opposite of Myles Garrett, so that the other teams, you know, their offenses are going to have to worry about both sides. You know, we need more than one guy rushing the quarterback. So Ogbah looks like, I think he had a sack and a half, and I believe he batted a couple balls. You know, the roughing the passer penalty on him, you know, it was kind of, it could have gone either way. I know what they're doing, so I know it's going to get called, but you know, I didn't think he was too far off base with that hit on the quarterback though. So I was excited to see him show up and make big plays, and that's exactly what I want to see out of him. And if he keeps, you know, playing like that and keeps growing, it's just going to help the defensive line out a lot to have Ogbah and Garrett and Ogunjobi who can get in there, you know, and cause problems. My dive, which you alluded to a little bit earlier, is the penalties. And, you know, I'm not going to complain too much about the officiating today. I thought the officials called a decent game. I mean, there's going to be mistakes, but I really didn't feel like the officiating cost the Browns the game today like it has in some other weeks, so I'm not going to play that card. But the Browns had 14 penalties for 114 yards. How can you be in a game when you have 14 penalties for 114 yards? It's incredible. You know, whether the officials are calling things a little too tight or not, the Browns have to clean this stuff up. You can't compete in the NFL when you have that many penalties. I look at these stats. I don't know how the Browns were in this game with how many penalties they had and some of the other issues. It's amazing to me that they had a shot to win this game with the way some of this went down.
That was an exact point that I was going to bring up as well. That's why you see Baker trying to be elusive so often throughout this game. That's why he had that 35-yard run. I mean, he's taking things into his own hands. I would like to see the stat of how many penalties were on his O-line that really stopped big plays, either at Chubb running or Baker moving the chains through the passing game. How many penalties are on the O-line where we would move the ball forward and then it gets taken back 10, 15 yards?
Yeah, obviously we don't get to see a breakdown like that, but I thought some of the holding calls were kind of a little ticky-tack today. I think they were calling it really tight on some of that stuff, but you know, once you see that they're going to call it, you got to clean things up. You can't just keep having the penalties called against you, Because yeah, you're right. It absolutely killed how many drives, the penalties, and we'll talk a little bit more some of the play calling, but yeah, it's just tough to be in a game when you're always ending up in third and long because you have a holding call or any other call on your offensive line that just keeps driving you back constantly.
And I guess that is the silver lining, if we're going to say so, is that we tied the game up 23-23 in the fourth with 114 yards taken away from us. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
Just crazy.
And the Bucs are not known as that good of a defense in this league right now. I think they're obviously one of the worst, if not the worst, against the tight end position going into this game. And, man, it took a while for them to really get Njoku going. Luckily, he had that touchdown. He ended up with only 52 yards, 4 receptions. At least he got the score, but, man, we should have really been getting that Baker Mayfield, David Njoku connection going through this game. Everybody has torched the Bucs with their tight end, and he seemed like he was open more than he was given credit for.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of really felt like it took Baker a little while to get going, like you said. I mean, he looked good, second half, we'll say. Most of it was probably the fourth quarter, but second half, he looked pretty good out there. A lot more comfortable. Some of that's maybe Jarvis Landry making some great catches. But, yeah, you got to get Njoku involved more. Duke Johnson at 4 catches. It's just, nobody really had a big game beyond Jarvis Landry. So you really need somebody else to step up to help Baker out a little bit more.
Yeah, play calling from my point of view, just for an example, Duke Johnson was used, but still not enough, in my opinion. I mean, for example, you get that play where Nick Chubb blows it up the middle for almost 20 yards. Huge hole through the middle. And then you hand it right back to Chubb. No. The next play should be all Duke. It should be, play action pass to, fake it to Chubb, and then a screen pass over to the left to Duke and let him run with it. Here we are. This guy just ran huge yardage, and then you hand it to him again. It's like, man, let's show a little bit different looks here for the defense and get Duke more involved. Yeah. And every time he touched the ball, he was electric. It's like he's just ready to go off every single time he gets the opportunity, and you want that. So, I was just gonna say Duke only had 5 touches. I'm not sure how many targets he had, but 4 receptions and one carry, and that's it. That's not enough. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like on paper, Duke doesn't blow up, but when you watch him in game time, he looks like he's so efficient with the little use that he gets. Every time he touches the ball, there was a huge catch that he had from Baker off to the sideline that most of our receivers aren't going to make. and he's got that kind of talent. He's one of the best receivers that I've seen that plays the running back position. And I guess I should say that the receivers were also nice to watch today. It is nice to come into this podcast and not talk about the drops, Yeah,
there were a few, but not as many, definitely.
Yeah, especially from an Njoku standpoint. Antonio Callaway wasn't given a ton of looks, but when he was, it was a confidence-boosting kind of pass to him where he could get the ball in space and then make a play for himself. So I liked seeing some of the receiving and the lack of drops, we'll say, this time around, thank goodness. So that can be a thrive for me. But my real thrive that I actually put in my notes here is the Cleveland Flea. My wife works for the Cleveland Flea, so they're this brand that brings in all these local businesses, artists, jewelry makers, food trucks, coffee trucks, dessert trucks, all sorts of things around Cleveland, and it's really fun to be at. Brings in thousands of people, brings in all the Clevelanders, and they started partnering with Van Aken District out there in Shaker Heights on the east side, and they're actually doing live streams of the Browns games when they go out to Van Aken District. So they actually asked me to write a guest blog so they could kind of get the word out there and they called me their fantasy football like guru, like the Cleveland Flea fantasy football guru, and that I got to blog for them and talk about how cool of an idea it is. Since the Browns are away, nobody's going to be in the Muni lot. Go to the Cleveland Flea and hang out and get all this cool stuff that you would want: Cleveland gear, food, drinks, beer, everything. They were even doing T-shirts this time around. They said Bagels, Beer, Brunch in Cleveland. So I kind of titled my blog Bagels, Beer, Brunch, and Browns, and gave them the spin that the Browns game will be there, and you gotta eat, you gotta tailgate, as it were, quote unquote, over there. So I think everybody over there had a good time, and that was definitely a thrive for me to be able to be highlighted as a guest blogger with them. And then my dive, I said it earlier, I think there's a couple ways I could go with dive, but definitely that kick, man. Kickers who can't make layups and can make deep threes like Steph Curry. I mean, the
Crazy.
Bucs kicker laid an egg today and then gets a game winner from 59 yards. Baker's face at the end there, he's in disbelief. Oh, my goodness. So I don't like that. I think another dive would be that we saw Carl Nassib licking his chops on the Browns. 2 sacks in the first half on Baker. I'm thinking of Hard Knocks when Baker's making fun of Nassib in the Rookie movie, the Rookie film, and making fun of his financial wisdom. And Nassib just flying through. Beautiful spin move at one point to sack him. A sack in overtime. He was all over the Browns. So that would be another dive for me if I could give one. What do you think? I mean, Nassib was on fire.
Yeah. I tweeted out that this will be known as the Carl Nassib revenge game. And in the end, it kind of worked out. I mean, yeah, he was playing like a man possessed out there. 2 sacks, and I'm not sure. I was going to look at the number, but Tampa, I think, had 10 sacks coming into the game, and then they added 4 or 5 more today. So certainly, playing, kind of above their heads with their defense today. So, but I mean, you got to give them credit. Nassib played hard, so it is,
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, we made this defense that has been very lackluster in the NFL look really good today for the most part.
Yeah.
And then
true.
In our defense, like I said, we had our moments, but we allowed a rushing touchdown to a QB, a wide receiver, and the first rushing touchdown to a running back on the Buccaneers in Ronald Jones today. Ugh, that's disgusting.
That's true. But, the Buccaneers have a good offense, right?
Yeah.
And they scored 26 points in almost 5 quarters. So I can't pin this too much on the defense. The defense created 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Sure, they gave up yards, but if you look at the stats, nobody on the Buccaneers had a tremendous game, really. Yeah, I mean, the 3 touchdowns, but look at Winston. He's 32 of 52. Granted, 365 yards is a lot, but no touchdown passes and 2 picks. I mean, I think you take that, against an NFL quarterback and feel pretty good about it. Their running game, again, they scored the 3 touchdowns, but nobody had a big game. Peyton Barber, who looked really good out there, he went 11 for 30. That's not very good. Ronald Jones, 6 for 13. And then in the receiving, it was Mike Evans, 7 for 107, and nobody else had more than 67 yards. So I feel like the defense did a pretty decent game. The offense in today's NFL, it needs to score more points. It just does. And 23 is not bad, but I think this offense is capable of more, especially against a defense like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they just looked a little more polished than us in the red zone, especially at the beginning when you thought they were running away with it. Us, when it comes to us in the red zone, Baker Mayfield trying to punch it in on a 4th down, a half yard out because Chubb couldn't punch it in on the 3rd down. That was rough, man.
That was. Yeah, that shocked me.
It brought us
Not
back.
what I expected.
It brought us back to the USC days with Matt Leinart getting pushed in by the running back, but that one worked. You just see Chubb trying to push Baker in, and he gave up. You can't push him into.
It's like how did they not score there?
Yeah, you got to.
But I mean, they stopped them and wound up. I think they stopped Tampa Bay on that next series. So, so the defense held. So it could have been worse. Let's put it that way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about Baker. What was your take on Baker through this game? What'd you like? Is he going forward? Do you place your confidence big time in this guy?
Yeah, I'm still confident in Baker. I mean, he's still developing. I mean, he's still a rookie. Yep. I thought he looked kind of like the Baker we've seen the last couple games in the first half, and then kind of the switch flipped in the second half, and he looked more like what we expect to see out of him when he's playing well. I still think he's holding the ball too long and creating some of these sacks. He needs to know when to get rid of the ball. When to step out of the pocket and just unload the ball. He's not doing that enough. So that's something that he needs to do better at, to grow with. I mean, he makes good decisions. He's just, he's still learning. That's just how it is. He is not going to be a perfect quarterback this season. Nobody is, but I just think this year is still a learning experience for him. No matter how good you are coming out of college, it takes some time to adjust in the NFL, and I think that's what he's doing. So he needs to watch the film, he needs to learn from his mistakes, and he needs to keep getting better. But I definitely like Baker going forward. I think he's the guy who's going to lead the Browns to success down the road. I'm not sure when it's going to start happening, but he's definitely the guy.
So what did you think when you saw him just bolt and take that ball and run it 35 yards himself down the middle of the field?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, he had all that room. It was an absolutely great idea. It was the right thing to do, and he goes down there and he's in his slide, and there's helmet to helmet contact, and somehow the official comes back and says, "Oh, well, he was still running, so helmet to helmet contact, a hit to the head, is legal." What? When is helmet to helmet contact legal in the NFL? Explain that to me. And I know the Browns ended up scoring there, but what in the world is this guy thinking? To stand there and say, "Oh, well, he's still a runner, so you can hit him with the crown of your helmet on his helmet. It's okay. Let's play the next play."
Yeah,
I need somebody to understand that.
He had to eat his words after saying that, man. I don't think he meant to say it like that, because that's been the biggest call in all the NFL this year, especially to the quarterback. And
yeah, but it was clear helmet to helmet contact.
It was clear helmet to helmet. It was clearly said from his mouth that he was a runner, so it is legal to hit him in the head. And
I'm like, all right, let's start cremating Jameis Winston every time he runs in. Apparently it's illegal now, so let's go helmet to helmet on him and knock him out of the game. Since it's legal.
Yeah, my only guess as to why that was legal is that Baker, it was such a bang play. So when Baker started to slide, that guy was already coming in to tackle his midsection. He wasn't going for his head. If you're really in game time and how fast that play went, I could understand the ref saying he's not going after that. He's not targeting. He was going to tackle him from the midsection down. He didn't get the chance because Baker did go into sliding, and so he hit him in the head. Now, I can't say that you're allowed.
I think it's a blown call. It just is a blown call. In this day and age of protecting the quarterbacks, if you hit him helmet to helmet, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It's a penalty.
And absolutely, I don't think that the call should have stood as it was. And I think the way he even said it says it all. He was hit in the head. So you saw him hit him in the head. So that play should be a penalty on the opposing team. Whether he meant to or not, he still hit him with his helmet. It was a helmet-to-helmet hit. So, Yeah, absolutely. That was very frustrating. I was out of my seat for sure. I'm sure my entire neighborhood was like, what's going on at Chad's house? I was up and at it, and I didn't like that call at all either myself. I thought that took some guts. I think that was the greatest run that we've seen far from a quarterback on this team in a long time, even better than any run I've ever seen from Johnny Manziel. So way to go, Baker Mayfield, quieting the haters. Oh my goodness, that was a really cool run, man. And moving into another part of Baker's game today, I really loved how frustrated he was when they weren't able to score, when he wasn't able to punch in that touchdown with the QB run. And he comes right back out after the defensive stop, as you said, and the defense got us the ball back. And he went out there and said what originally I thought, because you can only read lips, right? When he put up the number 1 to all his teammates, all of the offense running out on the field, you're like, oh, he's saying, one drive, guys, let's go. He's cheerleading the team. One drive. You take a second look at it and just how intense he is. I am like 99.9% certain I read his lips say, one play, I'm scoring. And that was what you saw at Oklahoma. And it is exactly what happened. Dumps it to Jarvis Landry for that slip and slide touchdown. And you go, wow, this kid can call his shot.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we want. I mean, the guy cares, and not that other players don't, but he gets fired up and he can back it up. So we just have to be a little bit patient with him, because he's going to make mistakes as he learns, throughout this season. But I don't think there's any doubt that he can lead this team to victories, and hopefully the playoffs in the future.
Absolutely. And then you move to our other rookie who really stood out today, Nick Chubb, getting the start. 80 yards and a touchdown. Nick the Juggernaut Chubb. What do you think, man?
Well, I think, we saw in the first half he had some, he had some tough runs. And I think we have to appreciate Carlos Hyde a little bit. It is tough to go out against a fresh defense, the first quarter when they know you're getting the ball, every other play and try to get yards. So it takes a little while to soften up the defense typically when you're running. And eventually Nick Chubb did, and he had some nice runs, 18 for 80 and a touchdown. The average of 4.4 is pretty good. Obviously, it hurt his average for the season quite a bit, coming in at 10 point something. But I thought he played well. I think they need to mix it up a little bit more, obviously with Duke Johnson and some other plays. But I'm good with 18 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. I would take that every week from Nick Chubb.
And I don't even think that those stats say it all, man. He's a slippery runner. He's elusive for being 225 or so. He had the fresh legs. He was a new version. It was as if the Browns updated a new version of Carlos Hyde and put him out there, and maybe even better than early Carlos Hyde, early in his career. Saw a lot of great flashes. Saw grit in this guy's game that I really liked. He never gave up on his runs. He's got a guy on his ankle. He's going to get 2 more yards and stretch the ball out. And you'd see the great running backs of the game, the Walter Paytons of the game, do that kind of a thing. And that's how they became some of the most highly touted running backs ever. So I love seeing that in this game.
Yeah, they're the guys that don't fall down when they get hit. We've seen enough guys in Cleveland like that, the first shot, they're down on the ground. Nick Chubb's going to fight.
Yeah, the Isaiah Crowells, right? The William Greens.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The guys who trip over a blade of grass or a shoestring and, they're down. Nick Chubb's not going to be like that.
He's not that guy. It's so good to see that quarterback running back tandem as rookies really starting to come together. And they're not showing a ton of, rust, I guess, or they're not showing, not rust, but, you would say a veteran player has got polish. He knows what he's doing. I mean, for a kid like Baker Mayfield, who didn't really go through progressions in college, right? He's in a Big 12 offense. Like, he knows where the ball's going every time he snaps the ball. to be able to come into the NFL and play at the level he's playing, and Nick Chubb facing big injuries in college, facing Sony Michel as a guy who could eat into his time at Georgia, coming in here and showing that he's still got it and plenty of it to bring to the NFL. It's really cool stuff. So definitely the positive side of our Browns game today. Now we got to talk Hue Jackson. Hue Jackson even said in his last press meeting that he knows that this is kind of the game. It kind of all hangs on this game for him. And they lost. He lost in overtime by 3. And we can say, yeah, the refs made some bad calls. We can say we lost 114 yards in penalties. We can say that we didn't push the ball in when Baker had that QB run. But you look at Hue's record now, and the losses are racking up, and it comes back to Hue Jackson. Does he get fired after this game?
I don't know if it's after this game. You know, everybody has to know what's coming up on the schedule in the next 2 weeks, and it's not, you know, it may not be pretty. So, you know, I love the players on this team. I love the roster. You know, I love that these guys don't give up. But sooner or later, you have to win in this league, or you're not going to be around. So, I just don't know. I don't know how many games he has left. We've seen a lot of improvement in this team, but it has to translate, you know, to the win column, or he's going to be gone pretty darn soon.
Our record now is 2-4-1. We started this season off with the tie with the Steelers at home. Now we go into Pittsburgh week 8. Then we have the Chiefs. Then we have the Falcons. It's going to be interesting to see what that record looks like in the coming weeks and what happens to Hue Jackson. It's a 50-50 ball to me, man. I think he could be fired this week.
Could happen.
It is definitely in the realm of possibility.
It could happen in the next few weeks. You know, if they don't get a win in the next 2-3 weeks, then it's a good possibility at any point in time. But we've thought that in the past about Hue Jackson, so we really don't know what the plan is.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to go back to something else here. My problem with Hue, and this is squarely on Hue's shoulders, is that a couple things. First of all, to me, he plays during the game. He makes calls based on the scoreboard, whether it's the first quarter, second, third, or fourth quarter. Okay, why in the world at the end of the first half are you going for it on fourth down when you can kick a field goal and have the 3 points?
Yeah,
take the points. You're down, just because you're down 14 points doesn't mean you need to score a touchdown right there. Take the points.
No, this guy's out here playing video games, man, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know how many people out there golf, but, you know, I play a little bit of golf here and there. Didn't play this year, but anyways, there's 2 ways to approach golf. You know, if you're a real golfer, you know, you hit your tee shot, you hit it into the sand trap, okay? If you're a real golfer, you're pulling out your sandwich and just blasting back out onto the fairway, okay? You can do that. Or if you're playing in a golf scramble, you're going to play what's called miracle golf, which is where you pull out your 3-iron and you try to pick it clean off the sand and hit it up onto the green, okay? Miracle golf, just like miracle football where you're always going for it on fourth down when you can take points, the percentages are against you. It's going to hurt you. You're not going to succeed that often. Great. If you do, great, okay? But you know darn well that the odds are with you taking the points and living the fight, you know, in the second half. So, you know, obviously I don't know the way everything else would have played out if the Browns scored those 3 points there. But when this game went into overtime and a tie, you sure think, wow, you know, those 3 points sure would have helped us avoid this overtime, would have gotten us a win this week.
Yeah, you look at the scoreboard at the end, we lose by 3. Come on, Hue, you take those points and now you've got to have trouble sleeping tonight, wondering what could have been if you would have just taken it. And all of Cleveland, all of Cincinnati, where you're at, is collectively, wherever the fans are at of the Browns, collectively are moaning at that moment, what are you doing? Right. It's the first half. It's not the fourth quarter. The game's not on the line yet. Take the points.
You don't need a touchdown there. Yeah, take the points. And, I mean, we've seen that in the past where because of the score, he's gone for 2 points in the first quarter or first half to try to get him within 3 or 7 or whatever. Kick the extra point. Worry about evening things out in the third or fourth quarter. You do that in the first half. You take your points.
And that's a huge reason I think he's really on the hot seat this week. And I think he knew it going into this week. You could hear it in his voice in press conferences that he knows this is the game. This is where everybody has to fire on all cylinders because he was feeling the heat. And, that was a major decision, a major failed decision to not get the points there. I agree. Well, do you want to move into IQ test?
Sure,
The next segment? Cool. We'll do IQ test, and we will close up after that. Rod, give me your bold prediction, and I want to grade it. Genius or lunacy?
Well, this is probably not so bold. Might be Hue, might be somebody else, but some coach or coaches are not going to make it past the Chiefs game. Somebody's going to get fired.
So between Hue Jackson, Greg Williams, and Todd Haley, somebody's going to be fired.
Somebody's going to be fired. Yeah. One of those 3 guys, or maybe, I don't know. Special teams have looked up, been looking up a little bit more. So maybe they're okay there. But yeah, I think somebody's going to pay the price here real soon.
You know what dawned on me a few weeks ago? We talked to Jake Burns, who is pretty much an expert film guy, right? Breakdown guy. And he shared his thoughts on Hue Jackson, who was a special teams coach and a successful one. Why doesn't Hue? You're the project manager of the team, basically. You're the guy it all comes back to if it fails. So why don't you take the special teams into your own hands? If that was the most failing group at the time, a few weeks back, was the special teams. Mm-hmm. I think consensus worst special teams in the league. And It's interesting how the special teams has looked since we talked to Jake. And I started to wonder watching this game, did Hue really take over special teams work and start to coach them on his own? And that's why we're seeing some significant promise in them now. And
maybe so. That's possible.
And then it started to dawn on me, how frustrated would he be if John Dorsey asked him to stay on? He's going to go get a new head coach, but you become our special teams coach. I don't think he would do it, but it dawned on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, it's going to come down to wins and losses, ties, and if they don't get some W's soon, then somebody's gonna be the sacrificial lamb. Somebody's gonna be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, but I started to think about it, man. I mean, that's a good leverage for John Dorsey. Like, hey, man, you've got one of the most historically bad records in all of coaching in the NFL history. And I don't know how many jobs are going to be out there for you. So you can keep this one if you become just a special teams coach and stick to that. Not such a bad idea. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's true.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but, I imagine. Okay, so I think it's genius. I think Hue is gone. I've said it. I think he might be gone this week, to be honest. So I think it's genius. I don't know. I don't think Greg Williams or Todd Haley would be fired.
Probably not.
I feel like those. I mean, Greg Williams was pre-Dorsey, but I don't. Yeah, I think he's done enough with the defense to definitely keep his job. And it's just dawning on me, though, has John Dorsey wanted his own head coach this whole time? I wonder if he just took the job, kind of said yes, was a yes man to the whole situation with Jimmy Haslam, because Haslam really wanted to keep Hue, but just knew that Hue might bury himself,
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that could really save Hue is the fact that they may not want to make a change mid-season. Obviously they can make Greg Williams, or Todd Haley the interim for the season, but you have to feel like Dorsey's gonna, if he really wants to pick his own guy, he's gonna do it after the season when guys are available. I mean, I don't know who's floating around out there now who he would want to bring in.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, that's the only thing. If they say, well, Hue's bad, but we'll take care of it after the season.
Yeah, you roll with him for the year. Yeah, that could definitely be
Right.
it too. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I'll say genius to it though. All right, my bold prediction. I think that John Dorsey will trade with the Broncos for Demaryius Thomas very, very soon.
What do you expect him to give up?
I have no idea. I would like to see.
Yeah.
I need to look up what the Broncos what their asking price is. I just saw that they were out there actually looking and seeing what people would offer, and I'd have to see what picks we actually have. I'd be willing.
Yeah.
I mean, Demaryius Thomas to me, I guess we just received a 5th rounder for Carlos Hyde. I kind of see Demaryius Thomas on that similar plane to a Carlos Hyde right now. He's 30 years old, so he's that Carlos Hyde, but a wide receiver talent. So whatever it might be, a 4th or 5th rounder, maybe that's not enough for what they want for him. But they know they're cutting ties with him, so they don't have a ton of leverage. They know he's gone next year. He's 30 years old. He hasn't had a crazy year stats-wise this year, so I don't think you have to give up a ton for him. But what I like about bringing him in, Amari Cooper was a nice thought for a week, obviously for Browns fans, like we always do. Oh, it'd be interesting to get that guy. It's the shiny new thing on the shelf. But it's that big receiver that you feel like Baker needs. You can't really put it all on Jarvis. It's nice to have Jarvis get a 10 reception, 97-yard, and 1 touchdown game, but you need that other big play guy, tall 6'4" guy. You need that Kenny Galladay. You need that Amari Cooper, Demaryius Thomas-like player, Jordy Nelson. Especially, that was Baker's sweet spot, his tight end in Oklahoma. His big wide receivers were huge for him. You look at Drew Brees, who's got a Michael Thomas, who's 6'3", right? Guys like Jimmy Graham he had at one point. It's just you need that big target for a guy who's shorter behind the line. And here's Demaryius Thomas, a 6'3", 215 kind of guy who's just going to be a polished veteran. He's going to be a great guy in the locker room. And he knows how to run routes. He's been doing it for his whole career, and he does it well. And so he's going to come in and not need a ton of work, and he's not going to have the attitude of a Dez Bryant. So I really like that pickup. And I think John Dorsey's trying to win now. I don't think John Dorsey cares about having a high pick in next year's draft. He's trying to get good now. He can do a lot with 5th rounders. We've seen it. He's gotten 2 5th rounders now for Carlos Hyde and for Josh Gordon. And people are like, oh, that was nothing. But what has John Dorsey done with 5th rounders? As far as I know, Tyreek Hill and Jannard Avery. So he doesn't need high picks. So I think you get a guy like that now, and you get him as a nice big receiver for Baker, who finishes his career here, and I think that's a nice pickup. So that's my bold prediction, and I think that we have the money, and I think John Dorsey's been waiting for the right kind of receiver like Demaryius Thomas to become available.
I think you're right. I think they're still looking. So, I could definitely see that as a possibility. I don't think Rashad Perriman is the guy that is the answer. But they've definitely been looking in that direction between him and having Dez in to talk to him. But I think you're right. I think they're looking for just the right fit, probably the right deal. So I think it'll depend on the price. And kind of where John Dorsey is with this season. I hope you're right, and I hope he is trying to win this season based on the current record and based on the fact that they may be thinking about cutting ties with Hue. But I think if they could swing a good deal with the Broncos, that I think Dorsey would make that deal. I think he'd bring him in for I don't know. I think he would do it definitely for a fifth. If you start getting up into a fourth or third, he may not want to do that.
Yeah, we saw Tyrod Taylor come here for a third rounder, so I looked at Demaryius Thomas as that level of skill, and obviously he's going to play a lot more than Tyrod Taylor, so I wouldn't mind even a fourth rounder if that's what it comes down to, but I hope it's not a high one, and obviously, like you said, you hope that it doesn't even get there. You hope it's a fifth or maybe even a player we're not really using. I mean, look at what he did. Demarius Randall, pretty much, for Deshaun Kaiser. I mean, this guy knows how to trade. So
he does.
I want to see. I want to see what all he has to give up or lack thereof for a Demaryius Thomas to come and be. And that's what's going to be nice. He's going to be a right away starter. He's going to plug right in and have an effect on this team. And where has he been effective? On a team with a slot receiver or a small playmaker, shorter playmaker like Emmanuel Sanders. And what do we have? Jarvis Landry. I feel like that's a perfect compliment and that he'll succeed here.
Right, definitely.
So, and he needs a new landscape too. He's one of those guys. The Broncos already brought in Cortland Sutton. It already shows we're kind of cutting ties with Demaryius Thomas. So to have new purpose, new life, a new scenery, a place trying to win, a place where he can go bring winning mindset, culture, a Super Bowl winner, a Pro Bowler. That's huge. I know it's at the end of his career, but he's got a few more years left. Look at Jordy Nelson is making impact on the Raiders at 32, 33. So
that's true. Yeah. And I don't think I went official here, so I'm gonna definitely lean genius on this. I think it could be the right fit for the Browns, and I think you're right. I think the Broncos are probably looking at to trade him, and the price tag not be too high since they know that they know essentially that he's gone. So hopefully they can make it happen. It'd be nice to give Baker a target like that.
There we go. Love it. Thank you. Both genius picks. Any last words today, Rod?
Oh, I don't know. These overtime games are just rough.
Yeah.
I just really want to see the Browns keep improving. I want to see Baker keep improving. I want to see the penalties cut down, and I just hope that that they play well in these next couple games in Pittsburgh and against Kansas City. I mean, we know they're going to be tough, but I want the team to play well and not embarrass themselves. The players deserve better than that. Still a fan, and go Browns. Hopefully things will get better for us next week.
Go Browns. Thanks, Rod. Yeah, let's take it to them in Pittsburgh. This has been the Brownie Sunday Podcast. Cheers.